Morning, guys. Yesterday I said it was the 5th, but it was actually the 4th. Today's the 5th and it's Tuesday. So I had taken the dog out and all the other little chores I do in the morning, but now I'm working on these things, and I just want to show you how I did this. Now I have to grind the welds off, but what I have here is, this is the inner piece that goes over top of the 1.5 inch, and then this is the one that goes over the 2 inch. So there's not a whole lot there for me to fool with, so it's a pretty tight thing to do, and it's hard to weld this. What has to happen is I actually welded the first piece to the top on both sides, and then I had to put them in the milling machine so I could just put a line there so I could get this piece of metal out here underneath this top. So anyway, they're welded there and they came out good and they should fit good. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going now with grinding them down and stuff and doing what I normally do to them to make these bevel siding jigs. So that's what's on the agenda for today. It was raining this morning. I don't know if you can see out there, my windows are dirty. It was raining out there this morning. It's not raining now, but all the leaves are taken care of, so that's the end of that story. Yeah, so basically it was raining. It's kind of drizzling, just not even to drizzle, just every now and then a couple drops fall. Alright, so that's the next couple steps in putting these together. So this has to be ground clean, and then a tab put back on each of these pieces, or let's see, I think the tab goes on here, yeah, and then a bolt gets welded onto that, the rod actually, across, and I'll show you that as I go, but this is where I'm at the moment. Okay, so when I weld these sides together, they have to be nice and straight or they're not going to fit on the bunk rail properly. So anyway, what I do is I put half of this underneath the edge of that, and that has to be nice and straight to be able to do that, and that's why having the cutter now solves that problem for me, because I used to have to grind it straight, because I used to either a grinder to cut it or I used snips to cut it, and not snips but the plasma cutter, and that doesn't do a nice enough job, but the cutter does. The cutter you see me use the other day. So then after I put them underneath there halfway, I tack it, let it cool off. I squeeze it on the bottom here and make sure that this thing is staying square, because these pieces that I have on the bottom here are exactly the width that I need for this cover to fit over top of there and give me a little bit of play so that they don't bind. Alright, so then what I'll do is I'll take and I'll weld this. And I'm not a certified welder, but what I do is I go in the shape of a written E all the way down from one end to the other to be able to make sure I have a good weld down there. And I just weld off flat, and whatever is there is, usually good. I haven't had any problems with any of them coming apart or anything. That's not to say that they wouldn't, but I'm just saying I haven't had any problems. So that's a matter of taking the 3 pieces that go on top, okay, and welding them together. And what you want to do is you want to have them welded together pretty good, because I have to cut into the sides of these a nice little square to be able to, let me put where you can see it. I have to be able to cut a little square in there to be able to use the key that adjusts it for there we go. I have to cut a square in here in the front on both sides so I can put the key through this key and be able to adjust this from 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch. Alright, so once I weld this whole thing, then I'll put it on the milling machine and I'll go ahead and cut out those squares nice, weld the bolt on here and stuff. But first I want to get it welded so it's a good strong box. That's what we're after. Okay, so I'm going to weld the rest of it. So you can see that that's welded there. It looks pretty decent. A little low here, so I'll add a little bit more into that. The object of the game here is just to flatten this even with both sides after I'm done. And that works pretty easy because as you grind it with the grinder, as soon as it touches the side, you're done. I like this MIG welder ever since I bought it, which was probably 20 years ago. This thing has been very handy for me for welding sheet metal. Okay, so there's one box is welded there. So I'm going to wait for that to cool down a little bit, and then I'm going to weld another one together. You have to take your time with the welding. If you are in too much of a hurry and you weld from one end without tacking it, you're going to find yourself with a crooked box. So you want to watch how you do that, so the box stays nice and flat on the bottom. Yeah, got a little, build this up a little bit here yet. Okay. Now what I want to do is leave that cool, because I got a bunch of boards and stuff in there that are holding it where I need it, especially the bottom ones. These were just for the hold the lid where I needed it. But they'll be good. So I'll let that cool down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and weld the other one together. Okay, so right now I'm concerned with this edge here. So I'm going to hook the ground wire on there, make sure that this is nice and even along there, and I'm just going to tack this into place. Now I'm going to hold it while I'm tacking it. Now that side is nice and even there, so when that cools down and I go to weld it better, it'll be good. So now I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I need to loosen up on the clamp a little bit here. Okay, so Now this side here is ready to weld, so I'm going to tack that and bring this down a little bit. Okay. Tacking it like that helps it to stay nice and straight, okay, and it also helps it to get a good, bond in different parts of the weld there. So when that cools a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and weld the whole thing down again. Okay, so that's welded good there. All I got to do is wait for it to cool off a little bit. So I already pulled some of the wood out of there, these pieces, and I use these pieces all the time because they're actually the size that I need, especially for the wood miser sawmill. Now this new one here that I made, this block here, works for the Cook sawmill, so I'll hang on to these. I think I'm going to write Cook on there just in case. Okay, so I'm done with these. I keep these by the welder so I don't lose them. The welder's done for now. And I'm going to let this cool off a little bit here, and then I'm going to start working on grinding these bigger ones off so that I can get the pieces welded on it that have to be welded on. Okay, so I'm going to grind these off. And one thing about using the grinder, I have this face mask here. Kind of awkward because it's sort of big, but I'll tell you what, it really helps and keeps the grinding stuff off of you. I should be wearing a leather vest because this is what happens when I grind, and it's always on the right side of me because that's how I hold the grinder. But all I want to do is get this top ground off, and I'll show you how I do it. Got to get an extension cord here. Can't believe how nice the weather is for November. I have a sweatshirt on, but even so, it's fairly warm out. I mean, not warm, but it's like probably in the 40s, high 40s, maybe 50. What you're looking for is as soon as you hit the top, stop grinding. So you can see what I'm saying there. Let's see what you see. You can see what I'm saying there. As soon as you hit the top of the surface, you don't have to grind anymore because you already have that level up. And then I'll take the other side. You can see a nice square cut that you have there. If there's any pinholes or anything, then I'll re-weld that like that. I'll put some more weld in there, but all you gotta do is get it so that it's flat. And then once I do that whole thing, I just take the grinder very lightly right down the edge, just to round it up a little bit. And you can use a file to get it finished if you want to. What I'll do here with this is I'll run over these sides with a flat disc right before I paint it, and it'll look good. You can see I need a little bit of weld in there, which I'll put that in there yet. But I just want to get them, you know, to the point where I can see that everything is okay, and that's good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I don't need the camera on for this. I don't think you need to watch me grinding metal, but I'm just saying that's how you go about doing it to be able to get it to do what you want it to do on your mill. Okay, so those two front ones there are ground down. Now you can see the bottom looks like it's spread open a little. That's because they're hot from grinding them. That'll close up nice. So I'll go over that with a little bit of finer stuff just to get some of the grits out of it, and then the marks out of it. And then I'll put some primer surfacer on it, and then after that I'll put paint on them. Okay guys, so both boxes are ground off. The keys cut, the rods are cut, and the backstop is cut for both of them. So those are the parts then that will make that thing complete. And then this will be a handle on here. I have to cut this and grind it down a little bit. And then we're pretty much on our way. We'll be able to maybe paint them tomorrow. I have to stop working here right now because it's around 3:30. I need to take the dog out because it gets dark almost at 5:15. So I want to go take him out and do a little cleaning up some other places here. So I'll talk to you tomorrow then. Have a good one. Bye.